Hello there and welcome to my little arty corner here on YouTube. My name's Angela Porter, and I love to draw. And I also love to encourage other people to do so. And I don't say my way's the right way, don't say my way's the wrong way. The way I do it is right for me, and I encourage you to find out what is right for you. And if my videos help you, then that's brilliant. Even if it's working out, no, Angela, nope, that doesn't work for me. That's perfectly fine by me. Because each and every one of us is different in so many ways. And those differences should really be embraced, because that's what's wonderful about humanity in many ways. But there are some differences that are distasteful, but we are not going to go into that, because I think there'll be ones we all agree on anyway. So, my accordion folder, a couple of things I want to show you before I start drawing. That's there. Got a tag there. Here I've got this, still haven't decided what I'm going to do there. I've got little cards in little glassine envelopes, two sides. The bottom one's done, the top one not yet. Oh, do you think I can get it back in now? Don't be silly. Of course I can. This is what I did in my last video. I haven't finished it. Lots of reasons, and I'm just going to leave it at a bit of turmoil is continuing within me. And so it's not been easy for me to get. I've got so many bits and pieces of things to do, and it's getting to be overwhelming, things to finish, but it's here for when I'm ready to. And I'll remember how I added colour, but I really like this. I really like the sparkly gold on this, I do have to say. So I think at some point I'm going to ink out these white spots and I'm going to put gold there. This is one that I've done. It actually needs another coat of gloss medium. But then what I've done inside is this. This is a drawing that I did on Tuesday evening with Tracy Hoff for Tracy's Tea and Tangles. And what I did, because it wouldn't fit on one page, it was too big for this. It was 4.5 inches in size, which is about 11.5 centimetres. So what I've done, I just split it. Well, I thought I'd split it down the middle, but I'd miscalculated the size. Thought it was 11 centimetres, but no matter. And I've put it on either side of the fold. And then I've connected the two sides. It's a bit messy where the fold is, sadly. But eventually I can do something with this section in between. I could use chalk pastels, I could do something else there. But I've only got one strand of DeviantArt going across the middle, which is intriguing, and I will tidy that one up as well. But I thought that was something a bit different to do. The other thing I'll want to do with this is I have got all this space around here that I can add pattern or colour to. I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet, but it's a project. Of course, I haven't done the back here. I haven't done the inside of the grey one or the back. This one I've still got to finish. And inside, this was the other drawing I did on Tuesday evening at Tracy's Tea and Tangle. And I've managed to stick it in upside down, if there is a right way or a wrong way. I drew it with this at the bottom, but in Zentangle it's all supposed to work out any way you like. And okay, you know, that one works fine that way up. The only clue is that it's up, you know, I've put my signature there. Doesn't matter, does it? But I went, oh, I can't believe I didn't check. Yeah, I can't believe I didn't check on a lot of things. And I'm still can't believe I didn't check on a lot of things with various other stuff. So I've been, do you like to see what I've been doing? Because I've been arting. And it's sort of like a new project, new way of working, doing things. Oh, I forgot to add colour to all of this. This is an illustrated journal I'm keeping on meals and recipes, and also notes on myself. So you can pause that and have a good look if you want. And things, you know, things that are going through my head I need to make a note of. Things I'd be happy to share with people. I'm not always happy to share, but I am quite open about having had problems with mental and emotional health in the past. Not so bad. It's not bad now. It's just confusing. I'm confused about a lot of things at the moment. I made this for my dinner yesterday, cheese and potato pie. Yes, there were 2 servings, and yes, I've got enough for tea in a while. So trying out how to do these, I was really surprised with this because I took a photograph of my breakfast. I used, well, parts of my breakfast, used that as reference. And then I said, I'm going to put colours in that will represent what they are. And if they're not accurate, I'm not going to give a monkey's chuff, because the colours will help you understand that this isn't a strange clove of garlic. It might be some orange, and then the word says it's clementine, and it's kiwi fruit. And this is French bread petit pain with butter and some ginger jam, ginger preserve tea. This one I forgot to put colour there. And then this is the one I've been doing today. Amongst other things, I've had lots of bits and pieces going on here. And this is my breakfast. I had 1 petit pain left, which was 2 days old, but it was lovely. A marmalade today. And I had a banana, but I had some kefir yogurt, strawberry, and it's delicious. I don't like kefir to drink, and I certainly don't like the water versions, whatever they are. But this is lovely, and it's very nice. And I've got some journaling to go in there, but I've got to decide what to do. I used watercolours on these. I'm not the best at watercolour, but this is a sketchbook, it's ideas. And I'm working on things, you can see here. Got a border of, what's that, poke leaf? And then spirals and swirls and things. So I'm deciding whether I'm going to add colour to those or leave them. It takes forever. Far quicker when I do it digitally. No, actually, I lie. I am not quicker when I do it digitally at all. So, there you are. Quick look at what I'm up to. Oh, amongst other things. I also got a colouring template done today. And that, it's a mandala, so that was fun. And so that took up some of my time. There were other bits and bobs that took up some of my time. And I'm not really sure what I'm doing here, but we're just going to see what happens when I put my pen on paper. I'm just going to, I don't know why, I'll divide this way and we'll see what happens, because something may happen. So just lots of things, and yeah. I said on Wednesday I was going out for brunch yesterday. That didn't happen. My niece wasn't well, and I woke up with a rotten, stinking migraine. It's from all the stress that I'm going through at this time. And there's nothing to worry about, you know. It's just, you know how things happen in life and suddenly you realise you've got to learn some more about yourself, and that some information comes along and you think, blimey. And then the past comes back and you think, now that makes sense, now this makes sense, and so on. It's that kind of thing. And it's thrown a bit of a curveball here for me. But I will find my balance and equilibrium again. And of course, art is one of those things that helps. So what I'm doing here, and I'll zoom in now for the next one, is I'm drawing leaves from a stem. And I'm going to make this stem get a bit thicker as it gets. Actually, I might actually just carry it off the page as if it's invading from outside somewhere. It's got a chunky stem there, but I'm happy with chunky stems. So hopefully you'll see. So what I'm doing with the first one, I drew the heart shape first and then put the stem in. With the second one, I find it easier to put the subsequent leaves, I find it easier to put the stem in this instance. So I can determine how long I want the particular leaf to be. and then it's easier for me to position them, as it were, from the stem. Now I am curving these lines on these two leaves more than I did this one. So we need, the next leaf needs to come off here. I'm now wishing I hadn't put those little lines in. So I don't have to, do I? But I'm going to. Just two in that one. And we'll have one coming off in this direction. This one, I think, yeah, it's going to go under that one. And what I should have done was to make sure that that didn't connect with this one. It's okay though, because I'll make sure these other lines don't connect with the lines on that leaf. So and some of them are going to be longer and thinner. It really doesn't matter if they're the same length, the same width, if you space them equally along the stem, whether you have them overlapping or not. And I think I can just get one more in. I think this one's going to be a little, I was going to say a little bit smaller, but it's not. I was aiming for it. And with these, I'm just putting something that's like a berry nestling in that little dip at the end of the leaf. Do you know, I can get one more in on this side as well, can't I? So let's have one tucked behind there. See, I've got no idea where I put the pencil cross in. I think I was thinking about doing something else, but no matter. So I've got a nice branch here. I am so tempted to carry it on though, because it's no great shakes to have the stem coming this way. To put the leaf in there. I can do the same here. This one's going to overlap there. And then the last one on this will definitely be on this side, I think. There's a plant that grows in sort of like beautifully rounded mounds, and the leaves are tiny. And I've known it as Helxine. I don't know if that's its proper name, but its leaves are tiny little hearts, and they grow in this kind of fashion, if I remember rightly. But perhaps the other way, you know, perhaps the more usual way where you've got the pointy bit at the end. I just love it. Always did. And I fell in love with it because I think it was my older sister had some as a potted plant. And it was absolutely, used to fascinate me, this dense leaf, the denseness of the leaves, and just how wonderful it was. It really did. So I've got this here now then. Just going to go there. I think I'll have it growing up as if it is a bit of a tree. Well, I mean, you know, it may end up being a pattern that works in any direction, but I'm holding it this way so that I can put some ink on these lines just to thicken them up a little bit. And I want to do the same with the little beads, little seeds, little berries, whatever you want to call them there. As soon as you start adding ink to some line, thickening some line in a drawing, you start to add the idea that there's shadow and there's volume and dimension and light. So I am just making sure that I'm keeping the shadows at the bottom of these on both sides. So I'm not considering a light source as such. I mean, it may work out that it would work as if there's a light source. I'm using the idea of adding these lines as if it's part of the pattern. So I think I just need to go back on the bottom half of that curve on the top here and just add some weight to that, because that would perhaps count as the curving under in some way. I want a little bit more there. So that just helps to define that. It just makes me happy. So, and oh, bad pen work. So I quite like that. I'm almost tempted to leave as it is, but you know, I'm not going to. So what can we do now? Do you know, I think I might take some inspiration, kind of, from one of those mats. And mats, the drawings I showed you, the ones I cut in two. One of them has crescent moon on, and the other one has got, is it Zinger? I think that could work. Perhaps we could have some of those growing in. I don't know. I'm really confused now what I want to do. So I'm just touching things up, tidying lines up as I go, while my mind ticks over until it goes, aha, I think we'll do this. I think I know what I want to do. What I'm going to do is I'm going to draw kind of seed pods from honesty plants. I know them as honesty, and their seeds are sort of like, they look like they're made out of parchment or greaseproof paper. They're translucent and almost stuck together, and in between you get these little seeds that seem to be hanging on to the outer rim of them, which is slightly thicker. So this reminds me of honesty, or some fruit or other. But I'm not worried. I'm picking places to put it where I don't have to draw too much behind the leaves or in gaps, because that can be quite confusing. And of course, in my world, although we may have completely circular versions of this plant, perhaps there are some that are not perfectly circular, or perhaps they disappear behind leaves so there's none left. Really simple, but really nice. So I guess this is a bit like crescent moon. Well, you know, it's not. But it's that kind of semicircular idea. So this one's turned out to be quite a botanical kind of drawing, I suppose. It's got its inspiration in things of a botanical nature. It's amazing just how very simple things like this, those, you know, a circle within a circle and then little lines with black dots on the end, can create something that's so complex and so rather nice. Now then, I am going to draw the next one so it grazes against that leaf. So I'm not going to have anything in this area here then, which keeps it clear, gives me a bit of, you know, well, it's not white space, it's orange space in this instance, but this empty space, which helps to separate these from this, as it were. These, you can guess that they do actually go behind these. But, and I think we may just get one more in here, I think. Well, that one can go around there. And that one looks like just a baby one. Baby ones are good. Okay. So I could just fill it into the corner, but I think this down here feels a bit awkward, and I'm not quite sure why, but it just does. So perhaps if I put one down here. So that works quite nicely. And then on the other side, what do I want to do there? I'm almost thinking about doing something like Knightsbridge or similar, going here behind this, just to give it a bit of a different feel. But I think what I'm going to do is I drew a border in here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add it in now, and I'll use that to add some colour or pattern behind there, perhaps in a different colour. So that works quite nicely. And I will put my initials here, and I'll have those hanging in a little shape like that from underneath this leaf. So that works nicely. I like that just as it is, that's enough. I like the extra space here for other things, so I can come back to that later. So let's go to the other side. I'm going to put things down for a moment and I'll be back in a second. I said I'd be back in a second, so just needed to do something. So, oops, pen rolling everywhere. So for this one, I really am going to put a box in here. Yeah, I'm not using a ruler. Shock. But what I am going to do is I showed you that kind of border I was using in my illustrated journal. So I thought it might be nice if I showed you how I draw it, or at least one way that I can draw it. So I've put a small circle inside a circle, roughly in the corners, a place to start from. And I'm drawing, well, I'm going down, up, and then around in a spiral. So it's a very wide U shape with a spiral on the end, isn't it? Then I'm going to come back here with that. And I am going to put, I think in this case I will use like a little crescent moon there, just to add some interest here, and perhaps I'll put another one here. I won't do any on the other side because I'll see what happens. Oh gosh, that was really chronically awful, wasn't it? It'll be fine. Then what I'm going to do next, I'm going to put, in fact I think I will put, I'm putting 2 lines here, I need to put 2 lines there. And then I'm going to, that's right, that one went down, so I want to go around on the top line here. So I'm going to go down, around. I'm going to have my spiral at the corner there. So I'm going to come back with this around this way, but I'm going to cut it off there, and I'm going to put a couple of little seeds in there, and I will go up and round there. Just finish that off there. This little gap here is where I'm also going to put something that looks like a crescent moon. And then to carry on here, crescent moon here as well, just to fill that bit in. So here I'm going to go on this part, so carrying round here but going about halfway along, and then come back on myself from the spiral, closing it off. And then I'm going to decide the place where I'm just going to finish it. I'm going to put a series of little seeds in and then finish that off back to there. Again, pop in something that's a bit like crescent moon here, just to fill that little space in. Then it's up over the top here, down, and we'll go around here. Again, come back, choose a place to stop, put some little seeds in. Ooh, I got over enthusiastic with them there. Oh, I forgot to put a crescent moon in that bit. Doesn't matter. Not one bit, does it? So, but one here would be quite interesting and lovely. And one here will be. So, following the line down and around where I went round this way, but I'm going to carry on that line and draw a spiral here. And it gives this lovely, wonderfully wibbly wobbly kind of edge to things. It's exaggerated here because I'm only using a small tile. On a bigger piece of paper you'd have these, like in my A4 sketchbook, these were quite long and they had a couple of waves in them before I created the spiral at the end and then worked backwards with them. Put one in there. Okay, so we're going around here now. So I'm going to go back this way. Again, choose a place to stop so I can put some beads in. If this is longer, I'd stop and start a couple of times, I think, for consistency and fun. Okay, I've got a place here where I can put a crescent moon. I've got one here. And then I drew the spiral this way. So this was the spiral I drew, so I'm going to carry on from here. Go roughly to the centre. Create my spiral. Come back. Choose a place to stop so I can put my little beads in. Seeds. And then perhaps I'll put a couple more in. And I can pop in crescent moon here. And here. And then I drew this spiral starting here with the top line down round. So now I'm going to get it to join here. So this join, this area here, is a bit on the strange side. It's different to the others, but we'll disguise the others in a moment. So I need to come back this way, choose somewhere where I want to add some beads, and back down here. Perhaps I'll add a crescent moon here. And this only has got one line on it, so I'm just going to put a second one there, like that. And then I'm going to look and see, well, where can I add some more things in? I think the crescent moons are going to be a pretty obvious thing. So we can actually straighten the outer regions of this just a bit. I'm not going to try, well, of course I'm going to try and straighten it all, but that'll be fine. It's okay. Perhaps here I can pop one in this side. Maybe a little one here. I think perhaps I'll just do one here. This is the awkward one. This is one that I haven't really, I need to do something about in this corner. So this is what I'm going to do. And yet there's a lot of crescent moons here, but I'm quite happy with that. Like so. So there's quite a lot going on. I think we may need a couple here just to tidy those little corners up there, and that gives a nicer finish. This one as well will need some, I think. And that one we can pop one over like that. So we've got all of this. So what next? Well, another saying in Zentangle is, if in doubt, aura. But I think in this case that's a very good idea, regardless. Because I would want to separate this section from whatever's going on in the middle. So I am just going to do this. Part of me thinks that's enough, you know. But what I think I might do is a second aura. So we've got a nice distinct border here. Sometimes you need that double line, just to give some breathing space, kind of. Then I think I might do sand swirl. It's one of my favourite patterns, and hopefully I'm going to get it right. So I'm going to start by creating this line with the blob on the end, and I'm putting 3 auras around it. So I'm going to move it this way, and I'll put another one of these in. And I'm starting underneath the blob up against this line, just going backwards. But you can start however you wish. These are going to overlap, and I'm going to be doing some overlapping, well, right here. So I did want to start with 3 overlaps, but you'll see what will happen in a moment as we get more and more of these in. Okay, so I haven't drawn this for ever such a long time, and I'm really enjoying drawing it. I mean, spirals, what's not to love? So I suppose they are partial spirals, aren't they? Swirly and curvy. They say, what's not to love? Now then, I could squeeze one in here, but what I think I'm going to do is, I'm looking here, I can see this one overlaps this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start overlapping these. until we fill this space in. Like so. Here, I think I'll pop that in because that would make sense there. Here, I think we'll go like this. That will make sense. Here it's just going to be going down like that. Ultimately, it doesn't make a lot of difference how you do this. Okay, so this one is going underneath, so the next line needs to go there. And then this one, you can see this one's underneath. So this one goes underneath, so the overlapping one is the one you do next. And we'll just carry that on until it fits. It gives this wonderful texture that goes on there. Now, I do want to add some colour or something to these because I think that would be useful to both of them. This one especially, I do want to erase my pencil lines on both because that will be helpful. The paper I've used is mixed media paper, so it will happily work with watercolours, for example. And I think that's what I might use. I don't fancy using Inktense. I think I'll use watercolour paints. So I have some water. I need a fine-ish brush. So I'm just looking for one, because I didn't think this far ahead. You do know that. There we are. That one will be nice. Okay, I forgot to show you. My pen that I'm using is a Uni Emott, and it's a 0.4 fine pen. They're called Ever Fine. They've got a solid plastic tip that doesn't seem to wear down much. I haven't wrecked any of them yet, which is a good sign. They are by Uni, Mitsubishi, which is a brand of the Mitsubishi pencil company. And they come in black, but they also come in, I think it's 48 or something like that, other colours you can get as a set. And yes, I do have a set of them. I love them for writing with as well. My pencil, it's just a mechanical pencil. This one happens to be a Rotring Tiki. And it's 0.5mm lead in it. But I have a collection of mechanical pencils of various kinds because I like to swap things out and change them. My watercolours I've got are new to me, and they're Paul Rubens, and these are, oh, there you go, I'll show you. If I zoom out, you'll be able to see better, won't you? And I'll zoom back in as I paint. These are Paul Rubens. It's the translucent set. Weren't that expensive as, you know, sort of like, you know, intermediate quality paints go. And they're not all translucent. Some of them are semi-opaque, which makes life interesting. But there's a lovely palette, and I haven't swatched them yet. I only had them this afternoon. But there's some lovely colours here, so I had to try them. Okay, for this one, I think this colour here will be quite nice, possibly. But I do want to add quite a bit of water because I don't want too dark a tint. And I tell you what I do need. I need some tissue. So I'll be back. There we go. A couple of pieces of kitchen towel. Because I keep kitchen towel here. So this could work, and it may be an abject disaster. But am I too worried? Not at all. Why not? Because it's only paper and pen and watercolour and just a little bit of time. So I'm putting the watercolour where I want the shadow to be. I may actually want a little bit more shadow. Once this paper is wet, the watercolour should sort of blends itself out, kind of. And I'm just going to, using just a damp brush, just to help to bring that down. I'm hoping this paper will work fine. I think it does. So that there is already giving me that sense of some kind of shadowing going on. If I move that out of the way a little bit, now I can move that up. So again, I'm just going to pick some of this up. There's likely to be variation in colour with these, and I'm fine with different colours, to be honest. As I know I mixed this colour here with purple and a sort of like pinky red. So I'm just blending this out, and it will blend with the distress ink in the background as well, which is fine by me. These ones here, and I can just bring them out. I'm doing nothing particularly fancy. Well, I hope I'm not. I'm not a watercolourist. May never be. I keep saying this. Isn't it funny how I say never again and then I go back to it? Yeah, I know. Here there'll be some shadow, and I can actually pick up quite an intense colour to go in there, because I think that would help, and in there because there's overlapping going on, and it's the overlapping I want to catch the shadows in. So go. It's actually quite a nice process to do something like this. And I will address the big long ends in a moment. But for now, I just want to, I'm looking for these bits that are in deep shadow, like here, and just get quite a lot of colour in there. Perhaps too much, but we'll see what happens as it dries. Hopefully it'll dry. Not patchy, but nice and... These puddles of watercolour can dry quicker around the edge than in the darker bits, so you get these dark edges, which can have its own charm and use, I gather. I quite like it. It adds an interesting texture, but not everybody does, and again, it's up to you how you do this. I'm not saying this is the correct way to watercolour, far from it. God forbid. But I like to dabble every now and again. And just to say that I'm not paid, sponsored or gifted product by anybody. I buy everything myself. And I quite like the colours. The colour selection in this is what appealed to me, because there's lots of brights, there's some nice greens, there's some nice rusty colours. Okay, for these bits, I'm going to add colour right at the bottom, because I want this in shadow, and I do want quite an intense shadow. So I'm going to pick up a bit more of that purple, just to make the colour darker. Like so. I'll put some here. I'm going to do this right the way around anyway, eventually, but I don't want it to travel too far away from there. I want to keep the shadow quite there, but I do want to soften those edges just that little bit. See here, there's a place here where we need a bit of shadow as well, and some there. So I can just pick some up and go with it. So I'm working on a much smaller scale, so the we go. That's working okay. We've got these ones that are in highlight, you know, the highlight at the top there, but I will intensify that highlight with something like a chalk pastel or a general's pastel just to bring that out, I think. But I do want to just make this here. It was quite mild here today. I was rather warm earlier on. I still am now. And I only had the heating on for a couple of hours and I was getting really hot. So I took the opportunity after I had a bath to open the bathroom window. And I've now got a fly flitting around in here. So it must have been really mild if flies have hatched somewhere. Okay, so that, I think, will do for now. And I'll think about anything else. The rest of it, I'm not entirely sure what I want to do because I've got this pink colour here, but I do rather like this yellowy orange I've got going on here. So I may have a look and see what this looks like with... You can't see what I'm looking at with my paints because I'm zoomed in. But I think I may colour these. Oh, that's nice because I know the distress inks always look quite intense, but the actual amount of ink that you put down is not very much. And so it mixes with the yellow here, but it's not really giving us too much of a colour shift in any way. And what I'm doing at the ends there is I'm just adding a little bit of a red or a red, yeah, it's a red, just to darken the end and the centre of the spiral up. Well, that was a bit much in the way of watercolour. Be fine. Lots of water, not enough watercolour. I'm sure it'll be fine, we'll get there. So yeah, so it was nice to have fresh air in the house. It's the first time since, it's probably October, that I've been able to open my bedroom window in that kind of way. Or the bathroom window, I didn't open my bedroom window. That'd be nice. And I am absolutely ravenous. I haven't had lunch because I had breakfast late-ish. But I know that I've got an easy meal tonight because I have cheese and potato pie, which essentially is mashed potatoes with cheese and onion. And I put some garlic in and a hint of mustard, because mustard actually really brings out the flavour of cheese beautifully. And I actually used raw onion, and part of me is going, Angela, you know you need to boil it. But I cheated yesterday. I'd bought some ready-made mashed potato in a supermarket, grocery store here. So I made use of that. Well, got to eat. And if that means on days that, you know, things aren't easy, because there's an internal struggle going on, or, you know, days that are challenging, which yesterday and today and for actually quite a few days it's been really challenging for me, then it's okay to do things like that. It worked out really nicely. I actually sprinkled cheese on the top. I used it of extra mature cheddar, which I love. Strong cheese. Just remember to try this with blue cheese at some time, like Stilton or Shropshire Blue. Cheeses that look mouldy, but then but they're delicious because they're meant to be that way. So it's not cheese that's gone off. I think they are made with a particular kind of mould, and the cheese is just to die for. So you can see here, this is beginning to brighten up. I quite like using this yellow and that little bit of red in with it. Just gives that little hint of difference in colour. But it's quite nice with the purple inside because they're complementary colours. So I'm just going to finish this little bit off here and here. And then I'm going to leave it to dry for a bit because I want to flip it over. We're doing a bit of flipping here. We're flipping it over. Flipping thing. There we go. Right. This end, I think we could do with a bit more yellow. That'd be nice. So we've got that going on, and I think I've got some more yellow here. And I am going to go round in this section with yellow as well. Now as I use my brush and it runs out of, oops, sorry, I'm off screen. Oops. This little area just in, just around here, because that yellow is a complementary colour of purple, which means they're more or less opposite each other on the colour wheel. It makes them vibrate against each other, they look more vibrant. So they complement each other and make each other shine more, look brighter. So I wanted to do that. The little beads, little seeds, I am going to use gold with. The crescent moons, I'm not entirely sure what I want to do with them. I don't actually, but I think, is that dried? Oh, I don't know if you can see. You see, I'm picking up. Pick it up. Can you see I've got little sparkles in there? I used brushes with the gold ink the other day. Forgot to wash them. Gave them a bit of a wash in this water. Forgot about it. So I've got little gold sparkles, and I'm fine with that. This side, I've got some green here, which is a lovely green. So, which will actually work quite nicely with the background colour. So I'm going to use this to colour the bottom half of the leaves. So this here is quite a light green, but I am going to go and choose some darker green, perhaps just to darken one side up. These have dried just a little bit quick, so if I rinse my brush off and get just a damp brush, I can re-wet the edge and just allow them to flow into the other section a little bit. So I get a nice gradient there, hopefully. We'll see when it dries. So, and then on the top half of these, I'm going to use a different colour. It's quite warm in here, so things are drying quite quickly again. So add some more in there. But you might need a bit of a darker green. That'd be nice. Yeah, that works better. So I'm going to have to go back to the others and add this darker green in there. Again, I'm just going to use a damp brush just to move that a little bit. I'm really fussy. I fuss perhaps too much with watercolours, but I don't know if there's any one correct way of doing it. I think there's lots of ways. There's lots of people who've got rules and you must do it this way, you must do it that way. And I think I try their way and it never seems to work well for me. Whereas if I do things myself, my own way, I can get them to work a bit better. But we'll see. I actually do want to use these for some quiet project with my monsters, I think. Let's do some monsters. I haven't done any monsters, my creepy cute monsters, for a little while here. I do think I need to do some. Otherwise I'll lose the momentum of them. Then, you know, they're never going to go anywhere. The idea isn't. They're probably still crawling around my head and just waiting to pop out at some inopportune moment. So that works. Actually, that works quite nicely. I'm not making the best use of watercolour in the way that they can, you drop the colours in and they blossom and bloom on their own. I'm doing something that's a lot more structured and organised, controlled. I'll do the other side of just perhaps one. I'm going to use a lighter green here, which is, I think this is a yellow green, but I'm going to mix a little bit of a darker green with it because it is very bright. And then the other side, I'm just going to fill this lighter colour in on a couple of them. And then I'll pick up a little bit of a darker green. Instead of putting it on the outside edge, I think I'm going to put it close to the middle, so it looks like it's folded a little bit, perhaps. Hopefully. That's interesting. This green is one of the ones that's semi-transparent, or semi-opaque, or whichever they call it. Yeah, it's not transparent. There's some talkiness there. So that is making them look quite bent. It is here. I see it differently with my eyes here than the camera's picking up. The little beads on the end. Now I used that lovely purpley pinky colour on the other side. So I want to do the same for this side. So I'm picking up a pinky colour. And I think those little beads here, I'm just going to add some this purpley colour in. Picked up far too much. Alright. So if I try and do the same in each one, they'll dry in a similar kind of way, I expect. So we've got that going on there. There we go. Of course, this pen that I've used, the Uni Emott that you saw, is permanent. So that actually works nicely. I do like that. I do like those leaves. I think I need to finish one side of this for you at least. I think. Oh, this is the one that I can see is putting a finish on top of my pen. You can see that it's not transparent entirely. Okay, so a little bit of a darker green down the middle. Hopefully, because I'm working a lot quicker and I'm not being quite so fussy here, this will do the watercolour will do its magic for me. I can hope. Put it that way. I had a bit of the purple leaking in there. If that happens, it happens. So that does look. I'll zoom out so you can see. That does look quite nice. I like that. I'm going to enjoy finishing this. Of course, I've got enough of the paints left on my palette just to pick them up and go with them. Now then, I'm going to turn this just a little bit, and I will zoom in for these ones here. Again, because I want it to sort of match the other side, I think I'm going to use that lovely yellow. Just a bit more water with that because it's a bit thick. Middle here, I'm going to fill this with the yellow. And I want some of the orange, I think. Oh, there's an orange here. Oh, ooh, that's bright. Okay, so before this dries, try and get some around the edge. And hopefully it will just bleed into the yellow and mix naturally. Knowing my luck it won't, which means it'll need a bit of a help from a damp brush. But I'm fine doing that as well. To say the paper isn't watercolour paper, it is It's mixed media, but sometimes I get better results if I don't use watercolour paper. Isn't that bizarre? Or perhaps not. So I've got that. Pick some of this lovely bright orange up while this is all wet, and I'm just going to drip it in around the edge. Just tap it in and just let it do what it's going to do mostly. And perhaps come back with a clean, slightly damp brush and just give it a bit of a hand. So I think that'll look rather cool. Well, it's rather warm actually. Around the outside, I think I might use that yellow because there are going to be places where the yellow comes up against the lovely purple. Like here. I just think that would help. Now I'm going to take a little bit of this orange as well and just drop it into where there's going to be shadows. Again, just rinse my brush off, get it damp, and let's get that moving into that yellow. Like so, just to give a nice kind of gradient. So I think that's going to work out quite nicely. I do. Again, I'm not going to finish it because I'll be here forever. I did want to do something about the background, but I'm not entirely sure what. Because I quite like it as it is, so I think I'm going to be using something else. Just put that back so you can see what I've done. You can see my messy paper here. So I quite like that. That's going to work out quite nicely, possibly. And I'm saying that for somebody who hasn't got a lot of faith in her watercolouring skills. And then if I turn the other side over, that one will work out nicely as well. I haven't worked out what colour I'm going to use on Crescent Moon, and I've got this other border here, but I will work it out. It might take me a little while though, like this one did, but they're really quite cute. Some two little projects, two tiny little drawings with different motifs on. Now I know I've used some of the motifs previously, but not this one. Not this one for a long while. I know I used Crescent Moon, I think the other day, didn't I? I think so. But this one here, I mean, it's a similar work to what I've done, but I haven't used Sand Swirl for a long time. So I'm whittering on, I'm blathering on here like an Egypt. So what I'm going to say is I'm going to say thank you for joining me. Hope this video isn't too long because I haven't got a clue how long it is because I stopped it halfway through. If you have a go at drawing these designs or using the patterns in your own way, and I'd love to see what you do, so you can tag me on in social media. If you want to email me, just let me know and I'll give you my email address in a form that won't hopefully be picked up by bots and things. But I shall see you again soon. So until then, take care, look after yourselves, and find time to be creative. Bye for now. Hoyle.